Will you be so kind as to accommodate me, and that the return of the post with £10? Robert Burns achieved more with his poetry than any other writer of poems about the ordinary world. He inspired everyone, from Bob Dylan to Beethoven. To this day, his birthday is celebrated all around the world. In his own lifetime, he is famous beyond belief. Rock star famous, and acclaimed as a genius, but it was found dead in his house just 2 weeks from writing a begging letter. Oh James, did you know the pride in my heart? You would feel doubtly for me, alas. I am not used to beg. This man, he leaves me feeling with a sore heart. He was desperate, and at the end of fulfilling his father's grave warning that he may fail in life. I think people love Robert Burns as his work speaks so personally to them as individuals. His spirit pulls life with today. Robert Burns' first discovery of a writer was intensely personal, as he inspired by a girl in the fields, a bonny, sweet Swansea lass, Handsome Nell. Rabie's first ever poem, written in 1774. He was only 15, not bad for a 15-year-old, but that was no way that he would have a gigantic reputation by his poem alone. By all means, it was a start. Here Burns emphasises that female grace, virtue, modesty and innocence are more desirable than beauty alone. And so, Handsome Nell, the first of many love songs, marks the beginning of Burns' lifelong fascination and preoccupation with the opposite sex. Just after writing Handsome Nell, Burns' family fell heavily in debt. Almost forced by their home by cruel landlords, scoundrel factors that would leave their family in tears. Something he would never forget. This would even be a key to understand the man that Burns would become. His head filled with poetry and learning, young Robert Burns grew restless to escape the small farming life, but didn't know quite how. He reaped little reward from his perpetual labour. In his 17th year, he gave his manners a brush. He went to the country dancing school. The village of Tarboton became the face of young Burns' social life. The girls of the parish filled his teenage imagination. His heart was forever lightened up by some goddess or another. His fortunes various, I assure you. Burns sought relief from the toils of the fields with his company of other spirited young men. He became the central figure of a group that was also hungry for life and for ideas as he was. They organised themselves into a club called the Tarboton Bachelors Club. Their aims were to forget their cares and hard labour in mirth and diversion. They rented out a room and turned it into a debating chamber. Rabie was the ultimate sentimentalist. He represented all virtues, the rule of hearth and the simplicity of poverty. But in actual fact, Burns was a radical. With sexual and political terms, he believed improvement, openness and freedom. Right. At this time, it was particularly frowned upon, but back then, fornicators had to come out in front of the congregation and sit in special repentant seat. This was the seat set apart which sinners had to appear before a worshipping congregation to confess their waywardness, to receive the revoke of the minister. On one occasion, Burns sat with 7 other fornicators. Right there, Scoops? Burns was always in two minds about religion. On one hand, he believed in God. On the other hand, he believed that churches' hypocrisies was a blight in Scotland of the day. Willie Fisher, an elder at Mauchline Church, was one that would revoke Burns. We all know Holy Willie's prayer. It was written in 1785 and first printed anonymously in an 8-page pamphlet in 1789. It considered the greatest of Burns' satire poems, one of the finest satires by any poet, and whether an attack on religious hypocrisy. The poem is an attack on the bigotry, hypocrisy of some members of the Kirk, and is told by the self-justifying prayer of a Kirk elder, Willie Fisher. My favourite part. O Lord, yesterday now kens me Meg, my pardon I sincerely beg. You'll ne'er be a living plague, my dishonour, and I'll never lift a lawless leg upon her. Burns' father was at his deathbed. He said to cast doubt on his son's aimless life. But Mauchline, a farm a year after his father's death, Burns is said to have wrote poetry like never before. He gave life to some of his greatest work, Scotch drink and twa dogs. In that year he tried to make a success of his farm, and his life seemed like the smallest of the things that could inspire him. Rabie came out one day to find the field, and while doing so he overturned the moose's nest. Yet that gave rise to one of the most beautiful, empathetic poems ever in any language. A political poem about a mouse. Truly sorry at man's dominion. In this case, that of the landlords had done to him and his family, I'm sure this inspired him to create one of the most empathetic poems ever. In line after line, he invited the world to enjoy universal fellowship with one of insignificance animal with no past to regret and any future fear. In 1785, he had his first illegitimate child. His reputation was becoming profound around Mauchline. Many of the town's women had caught his eye, and he would turn his charm to catch their in person, many in rhyme. The serial charmer obsessed with sex. In Mauchline there dwell 6 proper young belles, the pride of the place and its neighbourhood and all. Their courage and dress a stranger would guess. In London or Paris they've forgotten it all. Miss Miller is fine, Miss Mauchline is divine. Miss Smith, she has wit, and Miss Betty is bra. Miss Beauty, unfortunate to get wee Miss Morton, but armour, she's a jewel of the mar. There's a part in Robbie's life, I've cut a lot of his speech out because Robert eats some haggis. He opted, he was going to leave Scotland and go to a plantation in Jamaica and be a peer Negro driver. In July 30th, 1786. His hour had come in that plans he would never see Scotland again. But to me, Burns was the Larry of human freedom. To me, it stands as a puzzle. A proper conundrum for Burns, all the elements for him to make his choice. A desperate man. At this point, he decided to get his poems published. All his good poems were set in black print and bound together, soon to be hailed as a masterpiece. Around 200 pages, the first book, Kilmarnock edition, was born. He was that sociable, he could never have kept his poems to the pub. So, he got reviews in Edinburgh, and they were good fodder for him as he wore his boots, as he came straight from the field. Unlike the upper class who ran about in silk stockings, the review would change his life. A poet of Scotland, a genius of no ordinary rank, a genius who came from a farm. The man's a legend. The man was famous, he made friends with the upper class along with the literati, aristocracy and the Freemasons. Burns was a keen mason, as this is where he would meet his brothers on the level. Burns shone, he dazzled, he metal performing his poems at soirees and gatherings across the city, holding forth the great topics of the day. He was creating a demand for his book. His ambition was to go to Edinburgh and make money. After all, he had families to support. Edinburgh must have been a mirage for Burns, because he knew it would never last. He sold up his rights for his poems, but yet struggled to get the money for his publishers. By this point, he'd written a letter to one of his Masonic brothers, asking for a job in excise. And he explains that he was feared, and he strongly talks about extraordinary illness and the helplessness of old age, and how they harrowed his soul with fears. He explains he has one or two claims on him, the name of father. Well, that must have been the understatement of the 18th century, without a doubt. He was always mindful of his duty, of his care to his family. Requesting this role would offer him a lifeline. His gamble had paid off. When he returned, he married Jean Armour, his childhood sweetheart. This was a woman who said Rabie should have 2 wives. In 1788, he returned to farming with his wife, a new start for him, along with his excise job. He wanted to prove himself. He would have a name in his life, and he would have his family. At this, he turned to his music. Over 400 songs. The songs were published to this taste. Burns was a man of the folk and a man of the fields. I believe he felt that this was his national service to his people, the people of Scotland. He never requested a penny for his songs, but yet provided to all of the people. In 1790, he was at his peak in full song. Then came Tam O'Shanter, the literary legend, his masterpiece. He was said he wrote it in one day on the riverbanks. Phenomenal. Burns once again finished with hard toll of the land, so he served his ties once again to a new position up with the excise. Robert Burns was now 100% civil servant. Just jumped on that page. One night, Burns raised a toast. May success in the present war be equal to the justice of our cause. This was unheard of. You couldn't go about saying things like this. The French Revolution was on. Britain was up in arms. One of the drinkers took offence, and the incident threatened to escalate out of control. If he had nobody's welfare to care for, bar his own, he would have accorded to the manners of the world, and would have ended up brawling with the drinker that took offence. Words that were used that day was an excuse to take up arms and utilise pistols. The next morning, Burns was terrified that news would get out and he would lose his livelihood. So he was forced to write a letter imploring the drinking party to hush up the acts of the night before. He felt on the brink of destruction. He was scared that night his business would be misrepresented. He begged his friends to take care and prevent the news going further. Some took offence to this. Hypocrisy abounds. After all, he pointed the finger at the church, the state, and had built his entire reputation of being an enemy of hypocrisy. He satirised the double dealers. Was Burns himself a double dealer? Was Burns himself a hypocrite? I think, to some extent, he knew himself. With his job, he had lost sight of the person he was. To me, this is where I feel most pity for Burns. The one who wanted freedom couldn't afford it. Burns' loyalty to the king and country would be tested one more time. I missed the rest of it, but you. So, back to where we started. £10 to buy a uniform, because back then they were taking up guard all across the UK because they were fear of French invasion. So he tapped £10, couldn't pay it back because they bought online. Because he was due to his ill health. Due to his ill health, the excise had stopped paying for him. The money from the poems was long gone, the copyright sold long ago. Nothing from the field farms, his songs he had given away, and the excise salary had been cut due to ill health. Now, feared he would be thrown into a debtor's prison. The same threat that had hung over his father's heap most to the grave. So Caledonia's Baird was forced to write a begging letter. A letter to his cousin asking for £10 to pay for the uniform. Then Burns went home to die. He died at the age of 37. Everything in Burns' life seemed to be dramatic. His death was no different. As he lay dying, his wife Jean Armour was lying in the next room, days away from giving birth to their latest child. His last words, well, don't let the awkward squad file over me. He was keen to go into the next world very much as he wanted to stay in this one. He was a freedom fighter. Somehow, someone above, apart from authority, from government and control. 2 days after Burns died, the last of his 13 known children was born. With a population of Dumfries 5,000, it is said that 10,000 watched this coffin pass through Dumfries. To me, Burns is a friend's friend. Please charge your glasses and let's be standing. I offer this toast to the immortal memory, the Baird of Caledonia, Robert Burns. Cheers.